Kate Spade was the kind of designer who made things that didn't just look good, they made people smile. Her bags were colorful and fun, with simple shapes and tiny surprises that made women feel seen and special. There was something playful about her work, something sweet and full of life, like a little note of joy hidden in a pocket. For a long time, her name was synonymous with brightness. You'd see her bags on the arms of girls going to college or starting their first jobs, or just walking through the city with a little extra confidence. Everyone wanted a Kate Spade bag because it made them feel like they were part of a lovely trend. But then, something began to change. Slowly, without anyone noticing at first, people's admiration for Kate started to diminish. The color faded, the joy dimmed, and you could start to wonder, whatever happened to all that light? Why did her story end on such a sad note?
Hi, I'm Kate Valentine Spade of Francis Valentine. Welcome to my home. This is my entry hall / foyer. It was actually one of the reasons I bought the apartment, because I loved the fact that you had some breathing space when you walked in the room. And we decided to fill it, obviously, with a lot of art. It's very much like our design, it's very much like how I dress. There's some favorite pieces that I love here. I particularly love this one over here. She reminds me of my mother.
Before anyone knew the name Kate Spade, she was just a young woman working behind the scenes at a fashion magazine. She was a fashion editor at Mademoiselle, and every day she looked at beautiful clothes and shoes, but she kept noticing something missing. The handbags were either way too fancy or too boring, and most of them cost an arm and a leg, more than what young women could afford. She then thought to herself, why isn't there something fun, pretty, and useful that doesn't feel out of reach? That question turned into an idea, and in 1993, Kate and her husband Andy started a little business from their New York apartment.
Oh, right.
There's Kate Spade, the brand, and then there's Kate Spade, the woman. Kate Spade, the woman, was a Midwestern girl, born in Kansas City and came to New York. And she started Kate Spade, the brand, with her husband Andy. One of the things that it seemed like a lot of women connected with the Kate Spade brand was the fact that it was founded by a woman. She didn't seem like she was living in a rarefied bubble. She seemed to be one of them. And I think that kind of intimate sensibility.
They didn't have a big office or a team of workers. It was just two people with a dream. Kate worked on the designs and Andy handled the marketing. They did everything on their own, from taking calls, packing boxes, to mailing out orders.
Love this of David Hockney. There are a lot of amazing pieces. It's high and low, just things that we like. I love this one of John and Jackie Kennedy. And we included our daughter's work because I feel like she deserves as much credit in this room, so I want her work to feel as important. Now come on in. So now we're going into the living room, which honestly, I know so many people do not use their living room. We really do. This is a little more bold than the other room where it's kind of more free-flowing. We have this piece in the center that's very direct. We try to keep things a little neutral, and then...
Kate's bags were different from what was in the market. They were simple but bold, bright but grown-up. They were pretty, clean shapes with happy colors. And soon, people paid attention to her. First it was smaller stores, then big ones like Barney's. Then came the awards, the magazine features, and the celebrities. And before you could tell, the girl with the quiet idea became someone who made the world look brighter.
My family, this is my favorite table because it's just crazy pictures of everybody. Okay, favorite picture of Andy skateboarding when he was younger, and yes, it turns out that he was cool. This is something that my daughter drew. This looks like she drew this, but she didn't. She did not do this. I actually bought that for Andy. I think that might have been one of the first pieces I bought from him. This is a piece that, if you notice, is all different pieces of paper that are put together. And I also love that I think it's all charcoal. This is called Snowman, which I adore. We've got these cushions, which honestly, these are old Susanis that I had made into pillows, and this is generally where I sit.
As more people started buying Kate Spade bags, the business grew quickly. Stores were asking for more products, and customers couldn't wait to see the next new thing. So, in 1999, Kate made a big decision. She and Andy sold most of the company to a large group called Neiman Marcus. It seemed like the right move at the time.
The things that made the brand so successful. The accessories market in the early 90s, sort of was a reflection of the fashion industry in general. You either had things that were very sort of elaborate and highly ornamented, or you had things that were very, very streamlined. She was sort of frustrated that so many of the bags of that era were too extravagant or they weren't practical. And she worked to create something that spoke to her. It wasn't overly ornamented and it wasn't sort of boring either. Eventually, it ended up speaking to millions of women. I mean, I'm from the Midwest, and I like to think that Midwesterners have this really nice balance between wanting things that are aesthetically pleasing, but also wanting those things to make sense. And a lot of women would talk about how they could tell that a woman had designed the handbags because they sort of knew.
With more money and bigger connections, the brand could open new stores and reach more people, right? But that decision would soon break at the hem, because when you give away that much of something, you also give away some control. Little by little, the company stopped feeling like Kate's vision and started feeling more like a business chasing numbers. As if selling part of it wasn't enough, in 2006, Kate and Andy stepped away completely. The company was sold again, and this time, it didn't have their hearts holding it together.
Remember you and I discussed it?
Yeah.
The best way to describe Kate Spade within the industry is, she was her brand, or she was perceived as her brand. She came across as very straightforward and warm and welcoming, sort of an aura of good humor about her. All of those adjectives, I think, you could use to describe the brand as well.
The bags still had their bright colors and clever shapes, but something inside them felt different. It was like the sparkle had dulled a little. The company kept growing, with more stores, more products, and more countries. But it started to feel a bit out of touch. There were outlet shops, constant sales, and so many bags that they didn't feel special anymore. And when something feels like it's everywhere, it slowly starts to feel like it's nowhere at all.
Kate Valentine Spade is the designer formerly known as Kate Spade. That company, Kate Spade LLC, was sold in 2006. But fans of Kate's designs will be excited to know her new accessory collection, Frances Valentine, shows the same freshness and spark they loved her for. And Kate Valentine Spade joins us now to discuss. Welcome, Kate. So great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations on your new collection. Was it just a ton of work to get this all up and going?
You know, it's funny. I don't think that I realized just how much work. So I remember thinking when someone said, do you miss being away? And I said, oh no. And then they said, oh, do you like being back? And I said, oh, I forgot.
Once Kate and Andy were no longer part of the company, the people running things changed too. Big corporations like Liz Claiborne and later Tapestry took over the brand. They had big plans and big teams, and they treated Kate Spade like a business machine. They opened more stores, filled shelves with new things every season, and pushed for higher sales every month.
Tell us, back up for us a little bit, for those who remember, Kate Spade LLC, what were the forces that sort of drove you and your husband Andy to sell in 2006?
It's funny, I don't think a lot of people realize that in 1999, we sold 56% of the company to Neiman Marcus. And then when they decided to go, they were selling. They weren't going public, but I think were already public. They were selling to TPG, Texas Pacific. And so we would have been dragged along with the sale. And at that point, I think we realized, instead of saying I just had a daughter. And I thought, a good time to stay home. And I think it's a lot of parents, not just mothers, but fathers, know how important that is and what it's.
At first, it seemed to work. People were still buying and the stores still looked bright. But everything was not okay, and you could see. It was hard to explain, but you could feel it. The bags still looked cheerful, but the feeling behind them, the heart that used to make them so loved, felt thinner, like the magic was gradually wearing off. Other brands like Tory Burch and Gucci were changing with the times. They used social media in bold ways, teamed up with celebrities, and stayed fresh. Kate Spade didn't keep up. The name was still on the label, but the story behind it was fading. Little by little, the people who used to love the brand began to look elsewhere. Young shoppers didn't see the charm anymore. Older ones moved on completely. The name was still there, but something was missing. Something that used to feel warm now felt a little far away. Fast forward to June of 2018, something very sad happened. The world woke up to the news that Kate Spade had passed away. The headlines said it clearly and painfully. She had taken her own life at 55 years old. She had left a note for her daughter, a note that made it clear how much she loved her, even in her trying times.
She will be remembered as someone whose work was the antithesis to fashion as something that was intellectual and avant-garde and only for the rarefied few. She'll be remembered as a businesswoman who was an early proponent of fashion as a lifestyle and not just product. And I think she'll also be remembered as someone who believed that fashion could be something or should be something that was delightful. And it shouldn't make people feel like outsiders. It should make people feel like they are part of something joyful.
What caused such a vibrant woman to take her own life? Was she sick, bankrupt, or depressed at some point? People were shocked. Not just because she was famous, but because she had spent so many years making the world brighter with her bags and her smile. Her husband Andy later shared that Kate had been struggling with depression for a long time. She was seeing a doctor and was actually taking steps to feel better. At least, she was trying. Her sister said something even more heartbreaking. She said Kate might have had something called bipolar disorder, but she was scared to get help. She was afraid of how people would see her, or what it would mean for the brand she had built. That's what made everything so painful, that someone who gave so much joy to others could be hurting so quietly inside.
Tell me, you're now mostly online. Are there plans for brick and mortar?
We might. We're kind of, listening to what's going on in the market and hearing from some of our retailers or wholesalers, I should say, that have retail stores that are telling us how the market's going. And We're being very conservative and frugal in how we roll out. I'm in no hurry to rush it.
Right.
And just listen, like we were given the, flexibility at the beginning. Before, I want to have the same,
flexibility now.
Exactly.
And you're having a great time.
I'm loving it.
You're loving it. We hear a rumor that perhaps Kate Spade LLC may be on the market again. Would you ever consider buying it back?
Oh, I don't know about that. I've heard this.
After Kate's passing, something strange took place. For a little while, people rushed to buy her bags again. Maybe it was a way to hold on to her memory, or maybe they just wanted to feel close to something she had made. The brand saw a small rise in sales, but the problems that had been building for years didn't go away. There were still too many stores, too many discounts, and not enough direction. It felt like the brand was just floating and unsure of where to go. Then, in 2024, the company that owned Kate Spade Tapestry made a big change. They brought in a new leader, a woman named Eva Erdmann, who had experience with building strong brands. People hoped she could bring something fresh. She started trying new things. Some bags went viral on TikTok, like one shaped like a pizza box. People noticed, and it brought a little buzz, but others weren't sure. Was this real change or just a passing fad? Many still felt something was missing. The bags were cute again, yes, but the heart, the story, the meaning behind them didn't feel the same. And in a world where people, especially young people, care about truth and emotion, a brand without feeling can start to fade. These days, when someone carries a Kate Spade bag, it's not always to blend with an outfit or keep up with a trend. Sometimes they carry it as a way of holding on to her memory, onto a time when a simple little purse could make a woman feel smart, cheerful, and seen. For those who truly knew Kate, not just her name, but the real person, they remember more than her handbags. They remember her gentle smile, her quiet laugh, and the way she always gave more than she took. Her friends say she was the same whether the cameras were around or not. She was kind, thoughtful, and full of light. When she passed, the world was reminded that even people who shine the brightest can still carry heavy shadows inside, and that's something we should never forget. Maybe the real gift she gave us wasn't just her style, but the reminder to be softer with each other, to listen better, and to never ignore the ones who smile the most. Kate Spade once made women feel like they could face the world with courage. Her story began with joy, grew with hope, and along the way touched millions of hearts. Yes, it ended in sadness, but her spirit hasn't left us. You can still find her in a soft pink bag, a bright yellow wallet, or a bow that makes someone smile. Maybe the brand has changed, and maybe it won't ever be what it was, but her story still matters. Because Kate didn't just design handbags, she gave people a feeling, and feelings like that, they never really go away. Have you ever had a Kate Spade couture in your collection? How did it make you feel slipping it up your shoulder for an outing? Kindly share with us in the comments below.